Greetings and welcome to what may be the first of a series of vlogs, I suppose you'd call them, that I'm planning to do as, well, could you call it a New Year's resolution? I don't know. It struck me that it's been about 2 years or more maybe since I last did something like this, probably part of my whole sort of withdrawing hermit-like into these surroundings which you see before you, which is the Dragon Cave. I've become a bit more reclusive, concentrating on writing and audio narrating. But I thought maybe it's time to try putting myself out there again, as it were. Anyway, you'll tell me whether you find this entertaining, informative, useful or not. Please do put anything in the comments below. Give me a bit of feedback. If it's something you'd like to see again, then I'll do more of them. If not, well, I guess it'll just sink to the bottom of a sea of obscurity, which is a place I'm quite used to occupying. So if there's a title for this, I suppose I might call it Where I'm At Now. So it's sort of the place where we're all at now. Middle of a pandemic, a new president in the United States, a general feeling of uncertainty and maybe foreboding and fear. And in times like this, I suppose you grasp hold of the things that are good, the things that give you pause for gratitude. So I've got to admit that I'm luckier than most. The pandemic does affect me, but it doesn't affect me near as much as a lot of people out there, and my hat goes off to anyone who's working on the front line in the health services, in administering vaccines, teachers, workers, carers in homes. The list goes on, and it's just an amazing job that these people do. All around them they're confronted by the reality of what's going on. I think by now we all know people who've contracted the virus, and all too many of us also know those who have been lost. And all I can say is, for me, I just count myself lucky that none of my immediate family have succumbed, although my brother has unfortunately come down with the virus in this last fortnight, as has a great number of his family who all live under the same roof. So yeah, I feel very lucky, and who knows, it's all down to a lot of luck. You try to take the precautions that you can, try to isolate where appropriate, but sometimes that's not enough. So with that in mind, I'll move on from the pandemic and just say, try and communicate really, just what's kept me sane. And I have to say it's writing. I'm here in the Dragon Cave, which some of you have viewed before. I gave a little sort of a tour of the place a couple of years ago. In fact, that might have been the last video blog that I did. But it's a bit of a sanctuary here. If you notice a glow coming from this direction, it's from my little light that's my sad lamp, as my wife calls it. Helps sort of illuminate me with rays, sort of lift my spirits. If you see a little smoking coming from that direction, it's just the vapour arising from my little incense burner, and it's a mixture of vanilla and lime today. The vanilla part of it's a bit wasn't planned. It's the scent that's in the candle there, and I'd hoped it was a plain one, so vanilla and lime doesn't really mix, but there you go. So writing, yeah, since I don't know, December, I would say, I've been very busy. And the last major project that I concluded was completing the first draft of the epic fantasy novel called Destiny of Queens, which is part 2 in the Black Hallows trilogy. And if you just allow me, this is what it looks like printed off. All right, the cover is there. And my next task come the end of the month is to plough through all of this, read it through, add corrections, tweaks, and who knows, maybe some major changes if required. Things that might not work, plot holes, that sort of thing. So I finished that before Christmas. My co-writer Andy's already working his way through that, making his own little notes, and we'll have a meeting no doubt mid-February, pick up the threads and start getting involved in the second draft. On the horror front, in the last week I finished the second book in my series Tales from the Abyssal Black. You may remember that the first one was a story entitled Those Whom the Grave Will Not Hold, and many of you enjoyed that. As a series, it has the umbrella story of a seeker, an acolyte of sorts, who comes across, so he doesn't come across, he actively seeks out this vast library in a strange realm that remains undisclosed at the moment, but it's basically his life's work to access this place and to read these monumental stories. And it's all about the notion, which has been explored by many writers, Stephen King included, the notion that stories occupy a place in our imaginations, they affect us. And this particular library of stories not only holds the tales themselves, but actually holds the soul of the person who wrote or told it. And it's a little phrase called taram mihi. And the aim of this acolyte, this seeker, is under the supervision of someone called the Keeper of Books, ultimately is able to somehow oversee the transference of these stories into book form. That's his goal anyway. Will he achieve that? Well, you have to wait and see. But the latest story that he's required to read as part of his apprenticeship is a tale about a man called Blake Collins. And it's a story entitled, and he's trying to think immediately of the title. This is what age does to you. It's up for publication at the moment, I can't say that much. It's coming out on the 2nd of February, and you can pre-order it for the princely sum of 99 cents, which is probably even less in pennies. The aim is to just bring out these stories, fairly short affairs. This one's 20,000 words long, so it's a sort of novelette stroke novella. And you can read it in one sitting, 2 sittings. Nice little rapid fire tale for you to appreciate. And I'm still trying to think of the title. What's the damn thing called? Oh yes, here we go. The Abnegation Society. If you want to know what abnegation means, I'll invite you to look it up in a dictionary, but that gives you a clue as to what the story's about. In a nutshell, it's this guy from the super rich elite, based in London, modern day 21st century London. He's amassed a vast fortune. He's not just a millionaire, but a billionaire, and wonders how he can spend his fortune. And unfortunately, he chooses a very dark path, because he wants to live out every fantasy that his mind could conceive. And needless to say, one in his position has some very dark desires, and this society provides a service that allows him to live those out. And it leads him down a spiral of depravity, which is not for the faint-hearted. I've taken a bit of a departure from my recent suggestive horror approach and gone for a bit more sort of blood and guts, transgressive, but hopefully, as Kenny Everett used to say, all done in the best possible taste. Well, you'll have to judge that. But it's out there anyway, and please do sign up for a pre-order. I'll put the link in the description below. What have I been working on since then? Plunged back into Psychonaut 3, the last in the trilogy, entitled Spectres of the Day. I've not got on as quickly as I'd hoped. I've done about 7,000 words. I had aimed to do about 50,000 this month. I'm pretty sure I'm not going to make that goal. But it's moving things along. I've had to spend a lot of time reading it through again, because the last time I looked at it was 2 years ago. It's been put on hold for far too long. and I've had to replot a few things, think through a few ideas, swap things around, come up with new concepts, character arcs and so on. And that's probably why I haven't actually got as many words down, but it will get there, of that I am sure. What else I've been involved in? Audio narration. Recently finished, would you call it epic fantasy? I'm not sure. It's like comedy fantasy. It's the latest in Mccarth's series of Dungeons and Dragons style, humorous, Terry Pratchett-esque fantasy. It's called Journal of an Awful Good Paladin. And if you're familiar with Dungeons and Dragons, you'll see that that's very much a pun on one of the categories of hero that you can come up with, which is lawful good. In this case, it's awful good. And if that's your type of humour, with puns and dad jokes, then you will probably enjoy it. But that's out on Audible already. It's already selling quite well. And again, I'll put a link in the description if you'd like to get yourself a copy. By the way, I do have free vouchers for Audible, if you're a member and you're willing to have a listen to it and hopefully offer up a review of some sort. Again, just contact me. You can do that through the Facebook group, the Facebook page, through email. You can put a comment below. Just let me know and I'll organise that for you. The current audio narration project, I haven't actually started recording, but it's all set up, and I finally got round to embarking on producing a version of this, Going Down, which got a fair bit of critical acclaim from established reviewers. I hesitate to say it's the bestseller, but I'm quite proud of it, and this is going to be the next audio project. Hopefully it won't take me too long. It's not that thick a book, but I'm looking forward to getting to grips with that, probably at the beginning of February in earnest. So that's the audio narration front taken care of. I will mention again Mycophoria, which many of you have read, but has been doing pretty well, in fact very well. And when you start to get a few sales, it seems to boost reviews, and I'm pleased to say that the reviews seem to be largely good. One or two didn't like it, and some of the critical reviews are actually quite useful. There was one I got earlier on in the week, actually, and I think it was a 4-star review, and the person said, yeah, I thought it was a good book, but I was thrown a bit off when the author got it wrong about Area 51. And looking through it, I actually did, because I said that Area 51 was based in New Mexico, when it's in fact supposedly a hangar in Nevada. And what I'd done is actually mixed up the Roswell incident. It's all to do with aliens and abductions and so on. So I have to put my hand up and admit I made a mistake there. But that's where a critical review can be good, because I shall be going back to that book and correcting it. In my defence, I'm going to say, well, it was a particular character who mentioned it, and maybe that character got it wrong as well, but it's a pretty flimsy excuse, and I like to think that I can get all the facts right. So if you're out there, reviewer, 4-star reviewer, thank you for that. That was very useful. Okay, what's next? I am thinking, in fact, I'm more than thinking, I am definitely going to put an offer on this month for this. It's one of the books that I'm sort of most proud of, in the sense that I experimented a lot. It's a collection of stories. There's only 4 of them, but they're sort of novella length, and they're all from the point of view of female protagonists. And I launched this a couple of years ago without any real fanfare. I didn't do any marketing for it. I put it out there and promptly received very few sales and hence very few reviews. And because of that, I don't really know what people think of it. So what I'm going to do is put it out, not on a countdown deal, but on a free deal. So by the time you're watching this, if you go onto Amazon, for 5 days, it will be offered free of charge, digital download. Get yourself a copy and let me know what you think. It'd be great to have a review or 2 of it, or for you to send me your feedback. I am conscious that this has lasted about a quarter of an hour. Doesn't time fly? So I will finish up by pointing out something that has brought me a lot of joy in the last week or two. When I'm writing, I like to have background music, and I have to put on music that doesn't have words in it, because the type of music I listen to that has words is the sort that just absorbs me totally, and I have to listen to the lyrics and I have to imagine, and it just takes me out of writing. So instead I have to have more instrumental and ambient music. And I came across this guy. He's called Dave Bronze, and he's an English musician, guitarist, creator. He's also produced another album there. It's this one here that was advertised on Facebook, and I just hooked onto it because it's called "Not All Those Who Wander Are Lost," which many of you will recognise as a phrase from Tolkien's great work, The Lord of the Rings. And Dave Bronze he's a real fan of Tolkien. He's read his works over and over again, and he's put The Lord of the Rings and the Silmarillion and those sort of tales to music. And he's just such a brilliant guitarist. I couldn't even hope to match his technical ability, but more than that, apart from being able to shred as well as Stevie Vai and John Petrucci and all these other great guitarists, he's able to come up with music that really you can get your teeth into. And I've just got it on my playlist all the time. And he offers this whole package of the music along with videos showing how he produced it, his own personal insights into his inspiration. Thoroughly recommend it if you're into that sort of music, to get yourself a copy. Once again, I will put a link in the description below. So there we are. We've covered writing, reading, music, audio narration, and it sort of brings you up to date with where I am now. I've got a whole host of things that I could use as subject matter for these video blogs, but I've got to know if you want to hear more. I'm just conscious that I'm just a talking head here, rambling away. I enjoy tuning in to authors such as Patrick Rothfuss, the author of Name of the Wind and his Kingkiller Chronicles, and I find those absorbing. I don't know if I'm absorbing to the same extent or even just vaguely interesting, but I'm sounding all a bit pathetic now, sort of reaching out to see if anyone's listening and watching. So it's probably time to finish and close off. So I wish you one and all well, to keep safe, to keep healthy. We'll come through this whole ordeal at the other side of it, and I'm sure the world will be a better place when we do. So until next time, I say farewell, or in the words of Stan Lee, Excelsior, bye for now.